We are live. This is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you had to buy $560 billion worth of Bitcoin, how would you do it? Has World War III started today with the drone strike near the Black Sea? Is the banking crisis over? Hell no, it's not. Hell no, it's not. Okay, more volatility is coming, which is why the bid in Bitcoin. We're going to show you how to trade it, and how not to trade it. Okay, let's see who's here on the stream. We have Sydney AUS. Welcome from Australia. Don't Ask 6 from Oklahoma is here. Richard Barry giving me some love for the Bitcoin call. Okay, Mike Rocks, Rudy, Crypto Bullseye, giving me love from the UK. I appreciate that, sir. We're going to do a collab soon. Bull Runner is here. Welcome, right? We have New Jersey from California. Welcome. Knighton, Rave Song Records, GF, Sarah's here. Bart, King with the Notorious Love. BitBoy Al, welcome. Double AM from the UK. Richard from Saskatchewan, Canada. Metabytes, Visionary Vet, Nico F. Welcome. Christian says 30,000 BTC around the bend. Very possible. And Slacky wants war stories. Lucas giving me love from Spain. It feels like war stories are every day now with this 2008-ish flashback. Okay. Chance quadruple zero says, I want to FOMO in. Okay, let's talk about when you should and should not FOMO. I will do my best. All right. Let's go to the news first. EU Parliament passes bill requiring smart contracts to include a kill switch. So I guess the government was all about taking down crypto. Meanwhile, they missed a systemic bank failure and a monetary policy goof up. So now governments are resorting to computer programming. Fascinating, as Mr. Spock would say. CoinMatch.AI is trending on Twitter, an artificial intelligence service used to help find altcoins. Again, fascinating, as Mr. Spock would say, calling it the crypto Tinder. Very interesting concept. Hope it works. All right. CoinMatch.AI opens up the platform. Okay. So that is also happening. Now, on the more serious front, U.S. Reaper drone downed over Black Sea in incident with Russian jet. So the issue with this is, a circus stunt flyby by either a Russian drone or a Russian plane, purposely starts an incident with the United States because we're teetering on the verge of a financial crisis and Putin has a Bloomberg terminal. So anything he can do to start something, he will do. Don't expect any end to this. This is relevant because our warships may have to go into the Black Sea to retrieve the wreckage. We'll find out what ChatGPT thinks about that. Okay. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Kevin O'Leary says he will never buy a bank stock again as Biden has essentially nationalized the industry post Silicon Valley Bank. The Chinese character for crisis is a mixture of the words or the characters for danger and opportunity. Never let a good crisis go to waste. So when Joe Biden says the taxpayer will not be on the hook for Silicon Valley Bank, he's right. Because the Fed's going to print the money and the government's going to own the bank or the banks or all regional banks, where they'll give you $250,000 of FDIC insurance and stable coins or CBDCs to make up for the rest. This is the beginning of them trying to control the world, hence the massive, massive bid in Bitcoin. The banking crisis is not crypto's fault. Crypto may have had a banking problem, but banks don't have a crypto problem. So in other words, FTX created a ripple in the banking system that hurt one or two banks. But the fact that everybody is going on Twitter, right, seeing that a bank is in trouble and running to get their money out is a lack of confidence in the legacy system, not the crypto system. Bitcoin was created for such a day in the wake of 2008. Now, you know, I talk on TV every day, so I got to make some sort of call about the future. Jim Cramer has got to be on one of the worst losing streaks I've ever seen, to the point where I'm questioning whether or not he's actually on a losing streak or somehow this happens on purpose. Okay. Cramer comes on TV yesterday and said, I would sell all my Bitcoin, and it goes up 9% the next day. Okay. The inverse Cramer ETF outperforms the S&P a week after its market debut. I mean, imagine getting famous for losing money. I don't know how I would feel about that. I guess he's crying all the way to the bank. Vitalik dumps altcoins worth 220 ETH that have no moral value. Social responsibility and altcoins. Most likely, Vitalik's cleaning out his portfolio because you're better off holding ETH, and ETH may not survive the Bitcoin rampage. So when it comes to doing tax loss selling or questioning whether your altcoin, which includes my altcoins, right? You got to ask yourself, is it going to survive a war, another bank shock, whatever? So Vitalik has his reasons. I hope you have yours. God, Meta to lay off another 10,000 workers. Okay. So they already let go of 10,000. Now they're letting go of 10,000 more. And this is like what IBM had to do when it went from the world's biggest computer company down to a niche player in the software world. It just kept laying people off, right? They just lay off all the levels of management that they can and let the employees run the show themselves. Okay. So this guy bet on the metaverse. He bet wrong. You know, now he's got to lay more people off to free up resources to chase the AI narrative. I thought AI and the metaverse would go okay together, but now he's under too much pressure and he's panicking. Okay. Now, I put on Twitter that this is the end of the rate hike cycle. You can't have tech companies laying people off in 10,000 person increments. You can't have banks failing, governments nationalizing the bank, and have the Fed justify continued rate hikes in this scenario. Okay. With the inflation data, which we can talk about in a second. Okay. Inflation gauge increases 0.4% in February as expected, up 6% from a year ago. Okay. A drop in energy prices kept inflation in check, while shelter costs increased sharply. Yes, and I have talked about this ad nauseum. The Fed hikes rates. Nobody can afford a house. Nobody can afford a house. Everyone's got to rent. Rent prices go up. The Fed sees rent prices go up. They hike rates, making housing more unaffordable, driving more people into rentals, and round we go. If you want to solve the shelter inflation problem, here's a news flash. Stop tightening. Stop tightening. Now they have to stop tightening because the entire banking system globally is blowing up, right? Everybody's looking for the next bank blow up. Okay. The next bank blow up may be a collapse in all bank stocks, not because the banks are necessarily insolvent, although they probably are in Japan. Okay. The bank stock market, the market for stocks of banks could collapse because Joe Biden is going to nationalize all the banks, right? They want to control it. They want to control everything. They're not having much fun on the policy front. And it really doesn't matter what party you like or you don't like. This is happening. Hence the Bitcoin parabolic today, because people on the institutional side and people with real money, like if I know this and you know this, they know this. And we're going to do some chat GBT about what happens if people who run pension funds decide they need to put money into Bitcoin. Shocking numbers and shocking Bitcoin price targets. Don't go anywhere. Stay here for those numbers. Okay, let's switch off this. See who else is here. We have Jason PK. Okay, he's feeling better. All right. Bart says Meta overplayed their hand, the same as the Fed. Well said. I wish I had thought of that. The Crypto Clan is here. Welcome. Marco from Estonia. Visionary Vet wants to replace the Fed with AI. Right? Visionary Vet, controlled opposition is what Bitcoin is. Notorious Love from Jeff. Zoltan is here. Welcome. Justin Casey watching from Avenue of the Americas in New York City. Right? Jeff from New Orleans. Welcome. Rinky Donk says F the EU. Isn't it funny that because of the problems we've got, the dollar might crash, the Europeans still need to tighten. There may be a buying panic in the euro, which will cause a collapse in the dollar, which you are probably tired of me hearing me talk about, but I'm not tired of saying this. Visionary Vet is asking, are we seeing the end of the legacy markets? We're seeing an end to their ability to monopolize your life. In other words, crypto is about controlling your life, your banking, your freedom, right? You want CBDCs, a social credit score, or do you want Bitcoin? The polls are open. Vote now. Pancakes and Peanut Butter is in the house. Welcome. Welcome. Okay. Okay. Crypto Bullseye says there aren't enough likes on the show. Come on, people. Do it. Let's go to PowerPoint. Maybe this will put you in a better mood. Okay. Don't worry. Everything is fine. We all know, anybody who watched the show last year, when they're telling you everything is fine, it's not. It's not all right. It's not. If it was all right, they would not need to come on and have this conversation. And even if they did have this conversation, they would put somebody up there with the cognitive powers to take questions. Okay? I know this guy's old. He's the president of the United States. I want to be at least somewhat respectful. But the fact of the matter is, when they're telling you everything is okay, it's not. When they tell you it's the end of the world and USDC is depegging and it's all over, it's not. Right? When they're telling you Bitcoin's going to 100K tomorrow, that's probably not true. Although I can make a tremendous Bitcoin price prediction with ChatGPT, which you are going to want to see. Okay, US Reaper drone down. Ask ChatGPT, if there was a drone accidentally shot down in international waters by Russia and the wreckage of the drone falls in the Black Sea, use the history of the Cuban Missile Crisis and the history of how World War II started to create a scenario for the start of World War III. Okay? So the conflict quickly becomes global, right, as both sides' allies join them or are dragged into it by treaty obligations. A series of incidents and miscalculations trigger a military clash between the U.S. and Russian navies in the Black Sea. Several ships get sunk. We are going to have to go into the Black Sea to retrieve the wreckage of that drone. And the Russians do have hypersonic missiles, and they're dying to start something they're just dying to. Right? Because they think that this financial crisis can bring the dollar down and us down, so Putin is not going to stop. According to this, China would support Russia. Japan would support the U.S. against China. The Middle East could get involved. Iran would support Russia. Saudi Arabia could support Israel against Iran, and so on. So you could have contagion, and then there's another word that's hard to pronounce, conflagration, I think. Meaning one person starts shooting, another person starts shooting. This could happen. Somebody was making fun of me, giving me a hard time about the solar eclipse research. Weird things can happen. Weird things can continue to happen, which is why I don't necessarily want to buy euphoria in stocks. I'll talk more about that. But a scenario where there's a conflict because of this wreckage can happen, and Putin knows it. On a lighter note, 3/14 is Pi Day. From ChatGPT on March 14th, 2008, JP Morgan agrees to buy Bear Stearns for $2 a share in a fire sale that marked one of the first major casualties of the global financial crisis. Can you believe it? So on March 14th, you had a kickoff to a bigger problem right around the time Silicon Valley Bank fails. And of course, in 1980, you had shenanigans in the gold and silver market that resulted in gold going up to $850 an ounce on inflation and silver hitting $50 an ounce on some sort of market manipulation scheme done by a group of guys called the Hunt Brothers. Again, very much in line with all this weird solar eclipse research. When they tell you it's over, it's not. Financial panics, conflicts, crashes because of tightening cycles, all par for the course given that research. Now, just in case you're wondering why everyone's buying Bitcoin today, on the right, you have Facebook, okay, Meta, letting everyone go, okay, adding to the carnage that's already going on in California. I mean, it's got to be horrendous. I mean, there's going to be nothing left of Seattle and California when this is over. I mean, you got 20,000 people flying. It's unbelievable what that's going to mean for cars, housing prices. Now, yes, it's hard to feel sorry for Silicon Valley, but these people who are losing their jobs, they got nowhere to go. Every company's laying people off. Where are they going to go? You know, Jay Powell wanted the jobs at Chick-fil-A filled. Well, congratulations, homie. Mark Zuckerberg is accommodating. Financial Times talking about shares of the biggest Japanese bank dropping after Silicon Valley Bank spread. What does Japanese banks and Silicon Valley banks and all banks have in common? They got killed when interest rates went higher. Japanese banks were holding Japanese government bonds that collapsed in value so hard, they had to halt trading. Japanese banks, Japanese insurance companies are huge, huge. And if there's a problem over there, you could have a very big disaster. You could also have a big disaster with Deutsche Bank, who has huge derivatives exposure across a wide range of markets. Now, you've heard of VIX, right? VIX is the fear index for equities. VIX can be manipulated by the Fed. So legacy Twitter is switching to something called MOVE, okay, which is the bond market volatility index. So obviously there's been a lot of swinging where, you know, the Fed has had to stop tightening after everybody was talking about 6% Fed funds, huge reversals and swings in government bond markets, which may continue, right? Like, you know, interest rates down off Silicon Valley, interest rates up off the inflation numbers, interest rates back down again on World War III. When you have this kind of volatility in interest rates, it's not good. Last time you saw it, 2008. Okay, so is a repeat of 2008 going to happen? Not necessarily an exact repeat, but this is getting serious. And the more bond market volatility, the more currency market volatility you have, the more likely it is there's a problem again, hence everybody running into Bitcoin. Okay, the US dollar is finished, done. Don't want to hear about it. Don't want to hear it at all. Okay, 106 was resistance. I can't even believe this turd got up there. Okay, you have a new high in price, and you have lower highs in stochastics, and this down move is only beginning to express itself. I would expect the dollar index to be at 100 like in less than 2 weeks. I'd be shocked if it took that long. Okay, the Russians want to create a dollar crisis, and I don't know how the dollar is going to hold itself up given some of the policy mistakes of the of the Fed, and given just the general ineptitude of both the executive and congressional branches of the U.S. government. Right? Mistakes have been made by both parties. Okay. Some of the prior administrations relaxing of rules on capital controls for regional banks while designed to create growth. Okay. It just turned these regional banks into gambling houses. So everybody is going to be attacking these bank stocks, which can feed on itself. Right. So it doesn't matter who's at fault now. It doesn't. Joe Biden's telling you everything is all right. I already talked about that. All it takes is one tweet and everybody runs to the bank. Supposedly, according to one show, you can't even get 20s if you go to the bank. I was lucky enough to get hundreds because I went on Saturday. Right? And I'm on war footing here. Okay? The next crisis is a dollar crisis. The dollar. Right? That's why Bitcoin is moving the way it is. It's not moving because regional banks are going to fail because people are going to go on Twitter and say, get your money out. Right? Now, the one thing I am worried about that I briefly discussed yesterday and on another show was about Schwab. At Schwab, they win awards every year for service. They're the best. You call them, somebody picks up on the first ring. They're working out of Austin or Denver. I used to work there, right? I mean, it is a monumentally, culturally wonderful place where everything for customers is free. The way they get away with that is by running the firm as an interest rate hedge fund. They pay you nothing on your deposits, on your cash, and then they reinvest that cash at a higher price. Well, if people start pulling their money out of Schwab, or people get wise and start buying 2-year notes, 5-year notes, or 6-month treasury bills, how Schwab operates, I don't know. Okay. So again, all it takes is a couple of tweets for this thing to move. Now, speaking of this thing, one of the other things that's the end of the dollar is U.S. sovereign credit risk. In other words, risk that we miss a debt payment is at an all-time high, above 2008 and above when the U.S. got downgraded in 2011, along with the debt ceiling crisis during the last hybrid solar eclipse. Okay. So everyone's like, oh, it's Silicon Valley Bank. Oh my God. No, it's the Fed. It's central banks. It's the Japanese banking system. It's war. That's what's at stake here. That's why Bitcoin is mooning, because institutions have come in and go, if we don't have a 1% allocation to Bitcoin, or if we don't have an allocation to gold in Bitcoin, we're fired. If we don't own Bitcoin, we're fired. And 2 years ago, everyone's like, oh, the institutions are coming. People, the institutions are really coming now. But that's going to create volatility. There are a lot of different players out there, and sometimes buying blow off tops is not the answer. So I was like, hey, let's buy a dip. Let's make money. That kind of turned out okay. The forecast was decent. All right. Now it's like, hey, do you want to pay up right now, or do you want to get this thing when it dips? Right? Even if it's a small dip. Hybrid eclipse panics not over in one day. All of these occurrences between 1803 and 1900 were all dollar crises. Okay, all having to do with tightening, all bringing gold into the picture. Tightening cycles in 1994 and 1987. Very, very big. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is so rare. This has only occurred 5 times in my life. Based on this research alone, whatever's going on is not over. Now, on a happier note, on a much happier note, did you know that there is $56 trillion in pensions funds all over the world? So if 1% of those assets has to go into Bitcoin, that is $560 billion. And I asked ChatGPT so you can see the calculation. What would happen if you had to put $560 billion, one piece at a time, every day for a year? Like, where is Bitcoin if that's what they have to do? And I asked it to use Bitcoin futures markets and the volume traded at the CME. Okay. So the data is not perfect, but it would imply a Bitcoin price by the end of 2023 at 269K. Now, it's working off a price of 49K from way back in 2021, but that's okay. Because if they got to put $560 billion into Bitcoin, Bitcoin winds up with a six-figure price tag. Not tomorrow, but eventually. Okay, and there's going to be probably dips in early April and June, and that's when you got to get your Bitcoin. That's also when you got to think like Vitalik on these rallies and get out of some of these altcoins that will never withstand a much bigger move in Bitcoin. Okay, if 1% of pension funds has to go into gold, which I wasn't going to talk about today until shooting started near the Black Sea. Assuming the current gold price on March 10th is $18.67 an ounce, $560 billion into the gold market would imply gold at $31,900 an ounce. So if I said gold was going at $5,000 an ounce, you would turn off the show and not listen. No one's going to listen to $31,900. If you had a price like that, you'd have a default of physical deliveries at the COMEX, which would affect big banks because big banks are attached as clearing members to the COMEX. So if you don't think weird stuff can happen in precious metals, think again. Go back to the hybrid eclipse. Go back to the Pi Day trivia. This can happen. Silver, Elliott Wave. I borrowed this from an analyst I've been watching called McHugh. I've been watching this guy for a long time. He does Elliott Wave, so this is his work, giving him full credit. Basically, what this guy is saying is that you had the first part in 2020. The second part was a small dip. You had a parabolic up off COVID, and then you had a 2-year sideways four wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. And now this thing is out, and we're going to have 5. And this may be the third part of the 5th wave, which is basically parabolic, emotional, and crazy. So if silver goes, gold follows. If Bitcoin goes, metals go. It's all going to go. It's all going to go. It's just a question of when and by how much. Okay, HUI is the gold bugs index. So like gold stocks, silver stocks, etc. Okay, just put it in a parallel channel. You know, they have tried to push through. They have tried to break down at this level so many times. I'm just wondering if this cone leads to a breakout up here, which leads to back to the top of the cone, which is where it was back in 2011, right? So if this is the range for gold and gold stocks, you know, you're this far away from the bottom and you've got that far to go to the top, okay? Gold, Bitcoin, gold, Bitcoin. Okay, GLDN, I own GLDN. I work for Emerging Asset Group. GLDN is a way to play the price of gold in a micro cap crypto. Pays you a reward in Pax Gold, and it allows you to purchase a water token. Okay, because we have water licenses in Greenland. There will also be GLDN buybacks when our Block 47 business comes online, allowing people to stay on chain and purchase jewelry, diamonds, and gold from New York's 47th Street Diamond District without ever having to cash out to a bank. You can do it all on chain. So when we sell jewelry and diamonds and whatnot through Block 47, revenue from that buys back GLDN. Revenue from water sales buys back GLDN. At the same time, there's a million reasons for gold to go up. So what I'm hoping in GLDN is that you've got a 1 wave up and a 2 wave up, a 2 wave down. Then you have a 1 wave up and a 2 wave down. right? GLDN really hasn't behaved like this in quite some time. It's usually either up only or down only, mostly down only as people give up. This is a sign that this thing could be winding up to go with the rest of the gold market. Again, I own it. Fingers crossed. Our narrative is going to get discovered. Emerging asset groups, I joined this group for the type of world you are looking at right now. So everyone wants to know what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Non-investment advice. GBTC. Here's a question for everybody. How is somebody like BlackRock, the Fed, or some huge entity going to get their hands on massive amounts of Bitcoin, like $560 billion worth, without roiling the market and sending Bitcoin to 150K? How are they going to do that? Well, it's easy. They're going to go and do old-fashioned 1980s Michael Douglas, Charlie Sheen buyouts of companies that own Bitcoin, right? If you can't buy the Bitcoin in the open market, you got to go buy somebody else's Bitcoin. So even though Grayscale may have its problems, if those problems can be worked out, fair value for GBTC is at 20. Currently, it's trading at 13, meaning the Bitcoin inside the Grayscale Trust is valued below where Bitcoin is actually trading in the market. Now, that's because of peculiarities with Grayscale, with its parent company, blah, blah, blah. These guys have 600,000 Bitcoin. So somebody could come in and buy Grayscale, or somebody could really start buying GBTC, because this nonsensical argument for the government, okay, is going to get thrown out of court that GBTC can't turn itself into an ETF, right? They're suing, and then the judge looked at the SEC and was like, you guys can't prove this. You've passed no regulation. Don't come to me with this. This could really explode. Maybe not today, but again, how are you going to get your hands on $560 billion worth of Bitcoin? MicroStrategy, right? This has been Michael Saylor's game all along. Buy all the Bitcoin you can get your hands on. Okay, let everyone sell your stock on the 4-hour chart to where you get a 13 and a 9 bottom, and boom, this thing goes from 200 to 245. Now there's resistance at 245. So this is a tactical, technical read, but there's only so many firms you can take over to get your hands on a ton of Bitcoin without wrecking the market. Hut mining. How about taking over Bitcoin miners? BlackRock's not going to come in and try to take over a Bitcoin miner. Hut mining, okay, was trading at 15. Now it's trading at 1. There's a huge 15 to 20% up move, and who cares, right? This is the bigger the base, the higher in the space. The higher in the space is if people want to get Bitcoin, they're going to start taking over crypto mining companies, which is hysterical. Right? Because crypto was going to be regulated or sued out of business. And now the entire planet has to own Bitcoin. I went on Crypto Love Show today. It's going to be released tomorrow. I basically said, if you don't own Bitcoin, you're a moron. That is going to be a phrase in the institutional community going forward. All you need is one more nasty bank failure or problem, particularly with a big bank overseas, and forget it. Once the volatility subsides in legacy markets, Bitcoin does what it does today. The only question is, how do you navigate the dips? How do you move from alts over to Bitcoin? What are the risks? Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Coinbase may not be dead. Coinbase may not be dead. I don't know how the whole world gets Bitcoin by connecting some sort of a bank to Coinbase without Coinbase. Right? Like, is Coinbase the winner take all in the process, along with CZ, right? But, you know, big US pension funds are not going to onboard with CZ. They're going to have to do it with Coinbase. So Coinbase's stock was at 80, then it went to 60, And then the top end of a parallel channel is 118. So, once the stock market gets done blowing up like around in March, right? Like I think the stock market's going to make a final climactic low sometime in March, right? I don't know if they've gotten there yet, but they could be close. This Russian geopolitical situation or the situation with just the general value of bank stocks. If the government nationalizes banks and everybody has not managed interest rate risk properly, you don't have to have a run on the banks for bank stocks to just see it. Like bank stocks are now altcoins with no sponsorship. Galaxy Digital. Ooh. Mike Novogratz's crypto hedge fund. Possible head and shoulders bottom. What do you think the world would look like if Mike's hedge fund went from 4.5 to 10? Where's Bitcoin if that happens? Okay. So all this stuff that was given up for dead may not be dead. It may not be dead. Okay. Altcoins. Now let's talk about this. Polkadot. I like how Polkadot ran stops below the 62% retracement and then popped its head out of a downward sloping wedge. Just got to think interoperability is going to have value along with Cosmos. So yeah, Bitcoin will probably steamroll the whole altcoin space. Don't go anywhere for the ETH Bitcoin chart. But this looks okay to me. If this doesn't fall apart on any correction in stocks, Polkadot may be a play. Now, here's your comic relief. So we got all this dark stuff that's going to cause Bitcoin to go up. But what about other forms of money? What about other forms of money? What about Dogecoin? 13 bottom runs every single stop imaginable below this huge DeMark support point. And now it's up only going the other way. Remember when Elon said, I was into crypto and now I'm into AI? Well, you know what? They're all going to come back to crypto. Trust me. Right? If Jack tries to turn his decentralized Twitter into a payment system, you can bet Elon is going to have to come piling in with Doge. I'm not saying there's no AI narrative. I'm saying they dumped the crypto narrative prematurely. And it could be very alluring to retailers in a recession to tell people that they can now pay in crypto. That used to be ludicrous, not after Silicon Valley Bank, not after people experiencing a real retail bank run. 2008 was really about 401k destruction because of the 40% drop in equities, but I don't recall people going down to the bank worried that they had to pull cash out. That was an institutional run on the banks. When you have a retail run on the banks, it's going to be very appealing to retail to say you can pay with crypto. Zcash almost had a Cramer moment. I almost got on the air right here and said, I apologize. I got this wrong. I'm giving up on Zcash. I almost did it because I saw this 9 bottom. I saw this thing trending down. This looked like it was going to 0. And then boom. It's called fade yourself. Fade yourself, right? When you want to crawl in the fetal position and cry, buy. When you're wearing a lampshade on your head, sell. Okay? This was me in the fetal position down here at Zcash below 30. Zcash is a privacy version of Bitcoin in a way. Yeah, they need to scale it, but if the banking system has been nationalized, ask yourself about the privacy narrative. I mean, it's one thing if they want to issue CBDCs. It's another thing if they make you take it because they own your bank. Litecoin, don't laugh. Possible teacup and handle here. Litecoin has shown to have a mind of its own. And again, it's part of what I would call the Bitcoin complex, right? Meaning, this is fast Bitcoin. Use Litecoin at coffee shops. Even if you can't use Litecoin at coffee shops, if the Bitcoin picture has changed, it's entirely possible that the Litecoin picture has changed. Now, oh my God, this ETH versus Bitcoin. A diamond formation 2 years in the making. ETH is smashing below this versus Bitcoin. A lot of people don't know this, but before stablecoins, when Bitcoin would rally, it would destroy alts. Just destroy alts. Right? Altcoin investors were scared of Bitcoin rallies. The ICO boom didn't occur until after Bitcoin topped. Now, if Bitcoin turns into a monster and Bitcoin outperforms ETH to the point where all of ETH's outperformance versus Bitcoin unwinds itself, like, I'm not hating on Ethereum, but this is an indication as to how high Bitcoin can go. It points to how altcoins could get hammered if there's a risk-off event. In other words, Bitcoin would hold because there'd be billions upon billions that need to be bought. But man, you got to be careful with altcoins. I'm not saying don't hold ETH, but man, if ETH versus Bitcoin could get killed, what happens to all these speculative altcoins? Like, they bought all this stuff up 15, 20% today. Okay, yeah, I get it. People were short and it was a relief rally. But as my boss explained to me before I went on the air, reminding me that in 2008, when you would get these relief rallies in bank stocks, man, you would come in the next day and be down like 10%. So if bank stocks are altcoins and altcoins are altcoins, you got to be really careful about a huge shift in the cryptoverse from little coins into big coins, from stocks into gold. Now, my hope is that our altcoins from Emerging Asset Group make it, because we're doing gold, water, and we're keeping money on chain. Okay? But risks are abound. It's not investment advice. Any altcoin can go to zero. You can and will lose money. You need to be careful and think about your portfolio and active portfolio management in light of this chart. You could have a crisis, you could have a problem, right? Certain components of risk assets could get hammered, or the entire world could just pile in to say Bitcoin and Ethereum, and everything else would get hurt. I mean, this chart looks like, I don't know. I don't even know how, I didn't even do the math. You know, is this like, I don't know, 40K Bitcoin and 1,200 Ethereum or some crazy thing like that? I don't know. Okay. Hopefully it happens on the upside where Bitcoin just runs way past all the rest of the markets, which again could happen if you've got to put hundreds of billions of dollars in Bitcoin. That's the good news, right? Bitcoin could just rally more than anything else. It's been a while since we've seen that, but it is possible. Now, about altcoins that could still do well, how about Avalanche? They have a partnership with Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley, between layoffs, Silicon Valley Bank, okay, they are so screwed. If they don't turn to Web3 soon, they're done. Avalanche has got to partner with Amazon. And that is the market update. Okay. So let's see who else is out there. Okay, so we got a lot of requests, so we'll get into that. We'll get into the live TA aspect. Okay, so here's Bitcoin on a 90-minute chart, right? Here's the explosion up, right? You get a 9 top, a pause, and then it counts all the way up to 13. You get a 13 top.
Not sharing screen.
Not sharing screen. You got a 13 top on the 90-minute chart of Bitcoin. You have a 13 top on the 90-minute chart of Ethereum. So this is all pretty classic as to how this played out. So you'll get a dip. Now, meanwhile, in ETH, right, you did take out 1750. That's good. You have a 9 bottom. That's good. You could have 6 more big up days. So they will kill equities. They will kill bank stocks. But crypto probably has 6 good days left in it. XRP. XRP came down here, ran stops. Now it's having trouble getting off the mat. You got to believe some sort of alternative banking system has to emerge. And the more distress there is, the better XRP could theoretically do, assuming all altcoins don't get wasted. Okay. So yes, Bitcoin much higher. Okay. But, let's go to a daily chart of Bitcoin. Okay. So this is obviously the running of the stops. Whoops. You've heard of the running of the bulls. This is the running of the stops. Okay, just keep in mind on a daily chart, if you come back down to 25 and hold, even with this wick, it can be constructive. So sometimes when we're talking about buying dips, this little thing that's happening now, that could be the dip. In other words, net of the net is, I would buy dips, not investment advice. Let's do it this way. I think, in my opinion, institutions are going to buy dips in Bitcoin until proven wrong. They're going to buy every single dip in Bitcoin. So if it goes up to 27 and runs stops and comes back to 24, that's a dip. If equities get smacked tomorrow, which is possible. So if we look at equities, right? So I redrew the hidden pivot analysis. I can do it live. Okay, so I did it on a daily chart saying, all right, well, what happens if this gets totally wrecked? Interesting that there's resistance in S&P at 39.46. And the ultimate downside target may be 3,800. And the fact that they pulled up short of that could mean they could go through 3,800 if it becomes a mess. Okay, again, this Russia bank stock thing, very concerning. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to pull Schwab up, and then I'm going to go into altcoin overtime because I know you guys have requests. I know you guys, I'm going to stay on a little extra today. Okay. Schwab up 12%. Okay. Schwab was at 80. It went to 44. And all it can do is a 38% retracement. I know a lot of people that work at this place. I used to work there. Okay. I hope they have some sort of a plan. Schwab has a famous saying, ignore the noise. Okay. Meaning retail investors should hodl. It's not bad advice. I hope this recovers. If you see Schwab failing at 58.39, you better brace for something to happen in risk assets. I also think you got to look at Japanese banks and Deutsche Bank, which I have not done yet. Okay, altcoin overtime. Okay, let's start with Helium. Okay, so with altcoins, the first thing I'm noticing when I'm doing this is you have to ask yourself, did the 62% retracement of the last up move act as support? Okay, so 2.2 in Helium, after they ran the stops, held. I frankly don't like it that they actually came down below it. If Helium goes back below 2.2, you're going to have problems. If it holds 2.2, you should be okay. Okay. I'm skeptical about last cycle's altcoins in this cycle. Okay. Someone will ask about Algorand. Okay. We talked about this, right? Everybody wanted Algorand at 16 cents. Well, you got algorithm at 18 cents, Algorand at 18 cents. So, you know, on a daily chart, this looks okay. It looks okay, right? Because, you know, again, how destroyed is this? Very destroyed. So some altcoins will make it, some won't, obviously. Okay, let's just look at the 90-minute chart. Okay, so you have a 13 top, and you're going to get a dip. Is this a one-day dip, a 1 hour dip, a 2-day dip? I don't know. My guess would be a 2-day dip. Let this overbought condition work itself out, right? It's not a bull market unless you can buy a dip and make money. This thing has been giving you dips, dips, dips. Okay, and if you buy an altcoin and it smashes through a key fib level, no good. No good. Do not stick around in altcoins, right? If you don't have to. If you don't have to. Okay, engine. Okay, so everything's going to have the 13 top on the 90-minute chart, which means pause. And like everything else, everything's got the 9 bottom, and it looks like it's going to go up for 7 more days. If you look at engine over here, okay. Can we find something that held at 62% retracement? So engine did a pretty good job, right? This was only a brief move through 62%. This actually looks okay to me. Which altcoins can survive a parabolic in Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is probably going to go parabolic at some point when the dollar crashes. Which altcoins will go with it? I actually think the keys to that are being, the clues are being laid out right now. Okay, injective protocol, INJ. Okay, so this will probably look much prettier. Okay, just cleaning it up. Okay, held 62% to the number at 250. Obviously, somebody wanted this. How does this look big picture? Okay, INJ comes out of its range. It returns to the top end of the range and then starts going up. Impressive looking chart. KAVA. Okay, so somebody's got to wonder what's going to happen in DeFi. Is there any such thing as a way to survive in DeFi? Again, you know, hits 62% to the number and comes back up. So KAVA does look good. Let's see if we can look at KAVA over here. Okay, so KAVA has resistance at $1.26. I think the only thing that gives me pause here is you got to be careful that this move in KAVA and these other altcoins is not an A, B, C correction. Okay, see that big C up there? Okay, if this is A, B, C, and you have a coin like KAVA come into resistance around the $1.38, I mean, there is resistance here. So while this chart does look okay, it had the really nice bounce. Remember how I'm always telling you C legs down can be brutal? Well, C legs up can be vertical. It can look like it's going to 0 on a C leg down, and it looks like it's going to the moon on a C leg up. So what I'm telling you is this looks okay, but don't get cocky above $1.30. Active portfolio management is going to be required here. In other words, it's not optional, right? You're going to have to do it. And if you see something and you get to a point, you're like, I'm not sure this thing's going to survive. There is a solar eclipse out there that is going to wreak havoc. I don't want to see people FOMOing into altcoins or not raising capital, not picking on this, but I'm just saying, you get a parabolic up in small speculative coins, think about making adjustments. Okay, now back to XRP. All right, there's something hurting XRP, and it's the fact that it's over-owned. That's what's holding XRP back, right? Every time it presses against this downtrend line, retail seems to bail out. Now, personally, I think that's a mistake. I have not talked much about XRP in the past. I've been on YouTube for 3 years. These guys are going to beat the SEC. And I think it's, XRP has never been more important as a symbol. So the day that the market goes, I want a new currency, I want a new banking system, I want something different, assuming Ripple hasn't already sold out to the CBDC world, which is possible, but XRP is important. It's important that XRP survive, that Ripple be something more than a consulting company for central banks trying to get involved in CBDCs. My bet is that Ripple breaks out, right? Because it's been trying to break out for so long. People are probably so frustrated that when this thing actually goes and breaks out, if Bitcoin goes, XRP better go too. Crypto Bullseye says, yes, win for crypto. I remember somebody mentioning Synthetix. Now, I don't know what they got going on over there at Synthetix, but whatever they're doing, it's working. Because every time it goes down, it comes right back. Okay? Maybe these guys have figured out something in DeFi. Then again, celebrating relative outperformance does not pay. Okay? So there's a lot of resistance here in Synthetix. And I think when you look at the ETH versus Bitcoin chart, you got to ask yourself, if Synthetix takes out 3.5, party on. I'll join the party. But you got to ask yourself at resistance in speculative altcoins. Okay? Check yourself so you don't wreck yourself. STX, okay, I think this is a Bitcoin-related play. Okay, it looks like there's going to be a big new high. So this looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to be up here somewhere. So I guess if I was holding this, in theory, that's a very big resistance point right at $1. Give it a chance, right? If institutions are going to buy every dip in Bitcoin and this is a Bitcoin-related play, let's check it out. Okay, hello from Montreal, Audius Audio. Now, a word on this. One of the possible byproducts of this banking debacle is that people may become more amenable to Web3. Something's going to make it in Web3. I was looking at Polkadot and Avalanche. That's just what I was looking at. It's not what I'm buying. It's just what I'm looking at. Interesting how Audius hit the 62% retracement and bounced like so many other altcoins did. Very interesting here. I think the thing that might hold Audius back is that they're tied in with TikTok. But it's intriguing because anybody who lost money during the Depression, anybody who lost money in a bank run, if anybody's got grandparents old enough, they still have money underneath their mattress. They still keep cash in a house. They will not put money in the bank. And this could change how people feel about music, video, And I can tell you right now, we're going to be on Chat GBT, an artificial intelligence version of me. Will be making videos soon. Okay. Very similar read with something like Theta. Okay. I don't want to say the whole market looks the same. It doesn't look the same, but okay. Very interesting that this could be bump and run in Theta. One thing I haven't said in the altcoin universe, and I guess I'm hinting at it by what I'm doing now because I'm figuring it out on the fly, is there are going to be some surprises out there. So I don't like the fact that Theta went all the way down to 85 cents, right? Support is at 93 cents. People's minds are going to get changed. Like the government could try to attack crypto all it wants. People are going to believe in the decentralization theory, and Silicon Valley is either coming into crypto for Web3 or certain Web3 narratives may wind up picking up on their own. Okay. Somebody is noting that Cosmos is strong, driftless. Cosmos is near and dear to our hearts at Emerging Asset Group. Okay, so wash out below the 62% retracement. Let's look at Cosmos, say on a weekly basis to see if we got anything on the DeMark work that is intriguing. Okay, good news, bad news. So you had the 13 top on the weekly. Cosmos went down, but then it came back. Theoretically, this should be when you bail out of Cosmos, but if Cosmos can hold, it would be constructive. Okay, let's look at, say, a monthly chart. Okay, interesting that for the month of March, Cosmos is positive. So the weekly chart does not look perfect. Okay, but I'm interested in the fact that Cosmos has been comfortable in this zone. And has launched itself from this $8 point multiple times. So they keep pounding on this $8, $9 area and it comes back. This time it comes down, it comes back. So on a monthly chart, a long-term chart, this looks okay. Somebody says Bitcoin dump. Let's go back and take a look at it. Okay. So here's Bitcoin on your 90-minute chart with the predictable 13 top, right? One of the things I said yesterday is don't sell despair, don't buy euphoria. Now, they had the huge monster up move in Bitcoin, but again, on this World War III thing, you have to be careful, right? Like stocks are failing, okay? And crypto comes off. Money is going to come into Bitcoin. Whatever this was clearly emotional. So what we're going to do is, most likely, we're going to draw a fib retracement and say, all right, well, you know, maybe Bitcoin goes all the way down to 22K. Maybe we're doing this like, you know, up, you know, we go up and then we retrace 62%. Okay. And then we go up and then we retrace 62%. It's not a bull market unless you can buy a dip and make money. Okay. Well, here comes the dip. So yes, while Bitcoin is launching itself, there will be institutions down here buying it. There will be. Non-investment advice. It's just, you know, you have to be careful because forced buying is like forced selling, right? When forced buying gets done, when the panic buying's over, sort of like the bottom falls out. Just like when all the panic selling got done off circle, it was up only. Okay. The lesson of 2008, which my boss reminded me of this morning: do not buy euphoria. Do not sell despair. Right? When you get these, bank stocks up 10% days, those were the days to get out. There was a day where NASDAQ went up 10% in one day in 2008 and stayed up the entire day. Now, of course, that was the top and it went straight down the next day. But these emotional swings on headlines, this is common in legacy. This is a legacy problem, and crypto is now caught up in that. So if you're looking for a dip, it doesn't have to be down to 22K. Maybe it's just simply a retest of this. Okay. That was a big point for Bitcoin around 24K. Maybe we're retesting that. The point is this: if you got altcoins, rethink your positions. Sell in May and walk away, asked Telmo. Yes. So if altcoins are going to have problems periodically because of strength in Bitcoin, you might get a correction in Bitcoin in April. You might get a correction in Bitcoin in June, at which point altcoins probably get hurt. So it's like sell Memorial Day. That's the end of May. Come back at the end of June for what I hope is going to be the summer rally. The mother of all rallies in Bitcoin and the mother of all rallies in gold. Okay. Skynet. Chat GPT-4 was released today, and it can pass the bar exam with a top 10% score. Chat GPT 3.5 failed the bar exam with a bottom 10% score. College exams are about to become obsolete. Or you're going to have to stand up in front of a classroom and you're going to have to do oral exams. So everybody will be live on YouTube. It just won't be on YouTube. They'll have to talk their way through it. Again, I cannot wait to get the AI metaverse version of me. My producer is an active AI artist, and he is chomping at the bit to get Chat GPT-4 up and running so I can start to kick ass and take names in the world of YouTube. Okay. I know somebody was asking about Mina. I want to make sure I get to that. Okay. So like all of these charts, Mina gives you a 13 top on a 90-minute chart and comes off. On a daily chart, it still looks okay. Still looks okay, right? I think the key support is 71 cents in Mina. If Mina is below 71 cents, you got problems. If it's above it, it's fine. Now, no particular comment about this coin. Do not assume that because Bitcoin is strong, that automatically means your altcoin is going to the moon and beyond. Don't. Now, Gala trying to break out above 41 cents. Decentralized, something will make it. Audius looked okay, Theta looked better, and Gala looks better than that. So if crypto can continue to go higher and Bitcoin winds up holding 24 or 22, then it's okay. But you got to ask yourself about these questions, because these crisis things, they sneak up on you quick. In 2008 at Goldman, I used to have to write 2 or 3 S&P futures updates per day. A lot of times by the time I got it out the door, I'd have to start over and write a new one. There's only one market update per day. I may have to start going live on TikTok if it really gets crazy. So welcoming Ike, Ahmed, Usman, welcome. Crypto to Cash, Thomas, Steve T from Italy, W cubed. Can I look at Zen? Yes, I can. Okay, there was good DeMark support at 842. Let's go to a 4-hour chart. Okay, as with all of these altcoins, right? this is a resistance ledge around $11.11. Now, if it goes above this and it holds 11.11, it could keep going because there isn't a lot of resistance above that until 12. However, if you come to these resistance ledges and fail, that's not a good sign. This could be an opportunity to make a position adjustment. Now, that said, you know, if you've been hodling it and hodling it and hodling it, and you think Bitcoin's going to go higher, well, then maybe you just leave it. If you used to trade at 110 and it's now at 12. So you can just leave it if you want. But when it comes to these things, I would not be afraid to make different decisions, right? Don't be afraid to make different decisions if you have to. Now, on the bullish side, this could be wave 1 up and wave 2 down with wave 3 upcoming. God, would I love that. If you have altcoins like this performing, can you imagine where Bitcoin would be, right? Bitcoin is for real. Bitcoin is for real. We have Holland in the house. Welcome. Okay. Okay. Maker. Okay. Maker. Little line going across the top here. Okay, pretty big battle at resistance at the start of the FTX debacle. Like they took it down, but they brought it back. And now they're hanging out up here. I think you have to be careful about small altcoins at resistance. Somebody asked for Tezos at the start of the show. I remember way back when there was rumors that Tezos was going to be the test net for the digital euro. Somebody out there is probably saying, don't say bad things about my coin. I'm not. There's resistance at $1.20. If it closes through $1.20 and holds it on a bounce back, it's good. Theoretically, there's 6 more up days here. So, I mean, crypto's got room. If you get the big rally, reevaluate. You want to hodl this stuff? This is like up only, pressing resistance. Carry on. Right? I think to really break Tezos out, it's got to take out $1.47. Right? That's where it's really got to go to take, you know, to just like say, okay, yeah, this is breaking out. It's middle of the range here. If you want to give it a chance, I'm cool with that. Okay, Synapse on Coinbase. Okay, some kind of wild action here around some of these diagonal fib resistance lines. I would say it would be a positive development if 90 cents held. A lot of wild action here. The last time we looked at it, it was at 80 cents. Check the fib numbers. Okay, 95 cents is 62%. 90 cents is support underneath it. Okay, here's the final word on altcoins. I do not want to see altcoins trading below the 62% retracement of the rally early this year. Bitcoin is for real, and institutions are going to buy dips. Stocks may get hammered bad in the second half of this month. Bank stocks in particular. Banks don't have to fail for bank stocks to go down, especially if they're in danger. The whole industry is in danger of being nationalized. Don't buy euphoria. Don't sell despair. Okay, keep your position sizes relatively small. Good news is the dawn of Bitcoin, the dawn of crypto is definitely here. People get it. They need an alternative to the legacy system. Make sure that when you're in crypto, you don't lose money and you stay in crypto. So if you need to keep your position sizes smaller to stay, do it. This is Bill Noble. I will see you tomorrow.